When did Colin Kaepernick become the voice of America? Because I know I didn't choose him. Hello everybody, this is Gene from NYC and I'm back with another video. This is actually a bit spur of the moment. I wasn't planning to make a video today, but hey, life happens, stuff happens, and I feel that this is something that I should at least give my thoughts on. This is also going to be a little bit different because this is not going to be related to video games or to anime, comics, nerd culture, things of that nature. It's actually going to be tangentially related to sports, but it's really mainly going to be about current events. And the question I'm posing is, who is really the voice of the nation? Who speaks for the people? Now, let me get into it. For those who may or may not be aware, Colin Kaepernick, who used to be a football player, and by football I mean American football, pigskin, not soccer. And a few years ago, he gained a bit of notoriety for not wanting to stand to salute the American flag. It's a common practice at sporting events, especially when said sporting events are going to be aired on national TV, such as many football games are, to stand while a performer sings the national anthem, the Star-Spangled Banner, and salute the flag. Colin Kaepernick did not want to do this because he wanted to protest what he felt was instances of police brutality against young, well, not necessarily young, but black urban youth. Right, this was around the time when stories such as the death of Eric Gardner, which actually happened here in New York City, I think it was in Staten Island. The death of Eric Gardner, the death of, I think, Michael Brown. There was like a rash of deaths involving, the victims were young black men, or in the Gardner's case a little bit older, but black men who were urban, inner city black men, and the police. And there was this, as it always is, very charged conversations about how the police interact with the black community, especially the inner city black community. Now, these conversations, and sadly even these instances, are not new. I remember when, I'm old enough to at least remember a little bit things like the LA riots. And in New York, there was a particularly infamous case of Amadou Diallo, who had been sexually assaulted by the police. He had been detained, something happened, but basically he had been stuffed into a bathroom with several police officers, and they stuck a stick up his butt. If I remember the story correctly, I was very young. But I bring all this up because these type of conversations in American culture are not new. There were no doubt many, especially prior to when I was born, because of the civil rights movement and whatnot, and these type of conversations will continue. The reason I bring up Kaepernick is because he was protesting, or at least this was his form of protest. He was protesting what he believed to be police brutality against African American men in the inner city, and he decided that he was not going to stand and salute for the flag. He was going to kneel instead. And of course, media picked up on this. President Trump himself responded, and he sort of, I guess in a way, twisted it. He painted Kaepernick as someone who was insulting the military and veterans, and it became this whole big talking point for a while, right? And it became sort of in vogue. This was around 2015 or 2016. It became in vogue to sort of kneel, right? There were celebrities. I remember seeing the cast of Star Trek Discovery kneeling, right? Because it's cool to oppose Trump just to oppose him. You don't know why you're doing it. It's just that everyone else does it, so why not, right? It's that type of thing that happened at the time. right? Kaepernick became quite an infamous figure. I think he had a Nike shoe deal or something at that point at the time. Right? He gained a lot of infamy. He gained a lot of supporters. He gained a lot of detractors. But ultimately, like many things, it faded away. He eventually, I know the 49ers cut him. He couldn't find work, and eventually, he was out of the NFL, and people haven't really heard from him, at least on a national stage, for a little while now, for a few years now. Until now. So apparently Kaepernick got on Twitter, like everybody does, and he said that he believes that the Betsy Ross Nike shoes, right? Nike, for those that don't know, Nike was going to come out with these 4th of July themed or inspired, Patriot inspired sneakers. And on the back of the sneaker, they were going to have the Betsy Ross flag. So, as I was saying, Nike was going to release a shoe that had the Betsy Ross American flag on the back for the 4th of July. Right? Nothing surprising. Many companies come out with flag-themed apparel because it's the 4th of July, right? It's a nice little way of commercialized patriotism, right? So this is nothing new, but Kaepernick decides to get on Twitter and state that he doesn't want. Well, how do I put it? It's not that he doesn't want the shoe released. It's that he doesn't agree with this shoe because he feels that the Betsy Ross flag is a symbol of racism. Now, to be clear, I disagree with him. I've always disagreed with him on his social views. I think that, at best, if I'm very generous, Mr. Kaepernick may be well-intentioned, but I think that he overlooks the complexities and nuance of the situations that he wants to make a public stand on. Let's just put it that way. But he has the right to his opinion. Okay, I disagree with it. I find nothing wrong with the Betsy Ross flag. It's a prototype to the current American flag that we have. I'm not bothered by it. What bothers me about all this is Nike, because Nike pulled the shoe. Nike pulled the shoe for a football player who does not play football anymore. Now, let me be clear. I know that Kaepernick is a celebrity of sorts. It's kind of like a fading celebrity, right? Nobody really talks about him anymore until something like this happens. But here's what I want to know, and here's the question I'm asking. When did Colin Kaepernick become the voice of the nation? I want to know. I want to know why his opinion is so important to Nike. Especially since, again, he hasn't been in the NFL for years, which means he hasn't been generating money for them for years now. Why is his opinion on this so important that they decide to pull the shoe? So all those shoes, because more than one was made, that was made by all these workers who are most likely in foreign countries who don't have the same quality workplace standards that the U.S. has. Let's just put it that way, right? There's always been allegations of sweatshops when it comes to Nike and other companies that make apparel like sneakers and whatnot. So that's another thing. Why isn't Kaepernick complaining about that, right? The allegations of having people in foreign nations working in sweatshops to make literally American apparel, right? But to get to my point, or to get back to my point, when did Colin Kaepernick become the voice of a nation? When was there an election, right, that he won, that he suddenly gets to speak for the people, and that his opinion is so important that Nike decides to pull the shoe? The United States of America has an estimated population of 327, maybe 328 million people. Please tell me when and where there was a vote, and please tell me when and when the majority vote came out and was in favor of Colin Kaepernick speaking for the people, having the people support so that his word should be law when it comes to what a shoe company makes. A shoe company that he no longer, to my knowledge, is a signed athlete for, and that even if he is, he hasn't played for years. He's not Michael Jordan. His name doesn't generate money. I want to know why Nike is so thin-skinned and thin-spun that at the moment a quarterback who was infamous for a few weeks, a few years ago, all of a sudden now has enough clout, has enough social currency, I guess you could say, that they are going to pull the shoe because he doesn't like it. Right? First of all, you are depriving people who would like it of a product they would buy. Just practically speaking, this, in my opinion, is stupid because, again, there was no national outcry. It wasn't as if different, how do I put it? It's not as if, different outlets and different types of people and celebrities and politicians and regular people online. It's not like everybody is talking about this or that there was this huge outcry from a large swath of people saying that creating these sneakers and featuring this particular version of the American flag was bad. There wasn't. There was no real attention. There was no real mainstream nationwide media attention about this until Kaepernick ran his mouth. And again, I want to be clear. He can have his opinions. I don't agree, but he can have them. I'm not going to tell him to shut up. But I want to know why Nike is not just bending the knee to him. They're pretty much bowing down and bending over, really. And I want to know why. I want to know why they're bending over backwards to appease his sensibilities. Okay? He's not a award-winning football player or athlete. It's not like he's, say, Steve Young or Dan Marino or any other, well-known, big-name quarterback. Again, he doesn't have the clout of, say, Michael Jordan, where, he is such a mythic figure that you listen to him, right? For example, Michael Jordan eclipses basketball. He eclipses all the sports, right? Kaepernick is not a politician. It's my knowledge he doesn't have many ties to politicians. Maybe he knows one or two people, but again, he isn't a politician. He isn't a big name. Why do anything because he's offended? Let him be offended. Plenty of things in this life offended me, and no one gives a damn. You know why? Because in the greater scheme of the world, I'm a nobody. So why in the world is Nike going to pull the shoe? It makes no sense to me because he ain't worth it. You're not losing anything, right, that he could provide, right? It's not as if, he was generating money for them. He wasn't. It's not as if he has any powerful social influence. He doesn't. And yet, Nike decides to proverbially shoot themselves in the foot and pull the shoe, and now, of course, like with Gillette and other companies who decide to take an ill-thought-out social stand, right? People are dropping them. They're losing millions. Last report I checked out from Tim Pool, because they decided to acquiesce to some ex-athlete on Twitter who was famous for a minute. It reminds me of the old saying, if you stand for nothing, you'll fall for anything. And I think that's what's happening with a lot of these companies. That they'll just roll over and just do anything that some person, right, with a little bit of fame or someone who used to be famous has. And what frustrates me about this is that even if I give Kaepernick the benefit of the doubt, right, and say that he is concerned about issues of racism or police brutality, but is going about it wrong, here's the problem. His antics, whether it's wearing socks that feature pigs dressed up as police officers, or whether now it's this, it draws the attention away from the issue that he supposedly is fighting for, and it draws the attention and the both the positive and negative attention, I should say, onto him. This is a big part of the reason why I have a hard time believing that Kaepernick is sincere about anything, because you don't hear about him donating money to causes. You don't hear about him donating time. You don't really hear about him advocating for anything. Someone tell me what's the last thing that Colin Kaepernick did that he actually put skin in the game, put in money, put in time, put in something regarding these issues of racism and police brutality that he claims to care about so much. The only time you ever hear something about him is when he says something controversial. That's it. I don't have any proof that shows that beyond generating controversy, Colin Kaepernick actually does anything about these causes that he says he champions and that he's concerned about. I should get it. I just don't get it. I don't understand why his opinion means so much. I don't know, and I don't agree with, him suddenly basically speaking for the nation, that Nike treating his word like it's worth a damn, when it's not. He's an upset diva. Let him be an upset diva. That doesn't mean that his opinion is worth anything. Again, there was no vote. People didn't vote between him and FOP and several other people and say, "Ha, he shall speak for us. He shall represent us." That didn't happen. And as I was saying earlier, I know I'm kind of all over the place with this, but I look at it like this. From a purely practical perspective, there are more people, I believe, in the United States of America, again, a country of well over 320-some million people. I believe there were a lot more people in this country who would have bought the shoe than those who would have stood with Kaepernick and not bought it. Right? They were never going to get every single person to purchase a pair, right? That's impossible. But I think there were a lot more people, especially given that it had this patriotic theme because of the 4th of July is coming up. More people would have bought it than wouldn't have bought it. This would not be a real big issue if Nike had not acquiesced and pulled the shoe. They make it a big issue by bowing down to his, not even his demands, but just his complaints. And they hurt themselves with this, and really they hurt customers, because let me give you a hypothetical example. Let's say I wanted to get these shoes, right? Since they're basically special edition, right? Special edition shoes, very rare, so they're definitely not going to be around long. B, if you ever want to sell them, you can sell them at a pretty high price. But say I wanted to get these shoes for myself, or say I wanted to pick the shoes up for a person I know. Now I can't. Now I cannot pick up these shoes because Nike has pulled them because of Colin Kaepernick. There are going to be people who, for whatever their reasons, maybe they're vets, maybe they're family of military members, maybe they're just uber patriotic, who are not going to be able to get this product that's made for them, basically, made to appeal to them, because of Colin Kaepernick, someone who never would have bought the shoe anyway. Someone who never would have bought the shoe anyway has now made it impossible for anybody to obtain this shoe, at least for right now. Maybe Nike will change their minds, I don't know. But we all know he wasn't going to pick up a pair because he says he thinks it's racist. So you take that and you go, okay, now no one gets them. Now, we're not going to sell them at all. And again, going back to my example, I can't pick them up, not because there was national outcry, not because there was even city outcry, but because Colin Kaepernick doesn't like it. A person I don't know, a person I don't care about, a person who means nothing to me from an athletic standpoint. He's not someone I admire. He plays a sport I don't really watch. And I can't get a pair of shoes, hypothetically speaking, I can't get a pair of shoes because of him. Because Nike decided that his voice was more important than my voice and the voice of literally millions of other people who were potential customers and buyers for this shoe. Nike deserves everything they get for having no spine. I'm still just dumbfounded as to why they have no spine, why they gave in to him. I don't know. I just want to know when in the hell Kaepernick became such an important public figure that he basically gets to speak for me via his popularity. In my opinion, Kaepernick ain't that important. Again, he can say what he likes, but he should not be so important that his word makes a product literally disappear in a moment. Anyway, that's the video. It's very... Of course there are city noises, but at the very least I'm ending the video here. I know it's very rambly, my thoughts. I'm still trying to get my thoughts together. So this is a little on the ranty side, a little on the rambly side. I apologize for that. But that's the video. Oh, and I actually have one more question, or one more hypothetical I could say. I wonder what Colin Kaepernick has done, or has said, or has contributed in any way. Of course, with the city noises. Anyway, as I was saying, I wonder what he's done or said, or if he has contributed anything to the attacks on reporter Andy No. Right? If you don't know, Andy is a reporter. I think he's a conservative. He was in Portland covering some sort of event. I think it was a protest, and he got jumped and beat up and was attacked with milkshakes. Some are saying that there was cement mix in the milkshake. Some are saying we're not, but he was beaten bad. I mean, he had a brain hemorrhage at one point, right, by Antifa in Portland, right? And now, see, this is the type of thing that Colin Kaepernick should be speaking on. This is the type of thing he should be addressing. And to my knowledge, and if I'm wrong, let me know, but to my knowledge, he hasn't said one word about these attacks on a gay Asian man because he's a conservative. But those are my thoughts on it. Very rambly and all over the place, and I apologize for that. But let me know what you think, and I will see you in the next video. Have a good day. Bye.